What is up, YouTube? It's Brandon Collins back with another interview for the Medium Popcorn Podcast. This one is with the creators and stars of the new Netflix drama Malcolm and Marie that was filmed during the peak of COVID. Our full review on this film will be available next Wednesday, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page so you can hear it as soon as it's released. Special thanks to AAFCA for the opportunity to interview this incredibly talented team. And now here's my interview on Malcolm and Marie. Hi, Brandon Collins from the Medium Popcorn Podcast. My question is for all three of you. This is a very intense film that was filmed in a very short time period. What was the most challenging day on set for you while making this film? And we can start with Sam.
Well, I would say probably the first day was the most challenging, only because we came into it with a very specific plan, right? Marcel and I talked about, we want it to be very old school. We want to do this like a Preminger film, dolly shots, and you can even see traces of it in the beginning, like when he comes in by the bar and we do that push in. That's how we were planning on shooting it. But towards the end of the day, and we had shot the whole opening scene with JD singing around, dancing to James Brown, talking and, celebrating everything. We shot like 30 takes. Marcel and I get into the car and I look at Marcel and I'm like, it's too clean. There's not enough life in it. It's like, I don't know, there's something about it. He goes, I completely agree. I'm like, all right, so I said, well, let's go to sleep. We'll wake up. We'll figure it out. We wake up the next morning. We show up to set and we decide we're now going to shoot the entire movie handheld. It's all going to be life. It's going to be messy. It's going to be, all over the place. So I walk up to JD. I'm like, so you remember all the stuff we did yesterday? It was beautiful, beautiful performance. It's just, so this isn't about you, Z, you were great too, but we're going to throw everything out and start again from scratch. And JD's like, you mean there's nothing usable there? I'm like, no, whole thing. So you go, all right. So we shoot that whole day. Marcel's got a 1,000-foot mag on his shoulder. We had all been in quarantine, so no one had been on their feet for more than like 4 hours. And like, I look over at Marcel and he's like sweating. He's lost like 10 pounds. And I just look at him, I kind of shake my head. He shakes his head. And we know in that moment, we're throwing out day 2 as well. We get to the car. I don't want to say anything to JD and Z because I don't want to bum everyone out. I don't want to tell the crew that right there. We get in the car, we go home. We go, what are we going to do? We said, let's just jump forward in the movie, go to that bathroom shot, this little connecting piece we're going to do. So we're out there laying the dolly, track, everything. And it was only in that moment when we did that shot and JD comes in and you can suddenly see the world of the film. You see the stage in some way of the house, because I think it's, this isn't a reflection of pure reality. There is a level of distance. Its roots are theatrical. I think of it in the ways of like Tennessee Williams. I think about it in terms of August Wilson. I think about it in terms of Raising the Sun. There's a theatrical quality to the piece. And suddenly you can now see the whole world, and you see Malcolm in his world, Z in her world, and you realize they're two very different worlds. There's a tension there. And that's why I think, and it was only then that we discovered, oh, this is our entry point into the film. And the only problem is we discovered that with an hour left of night. And so we had to rush, do this, build the track, and we did 3 takes. And they were, as loose as can be. I said, JD, it's just imagine your legs are wheels, like dolly wheels, and we're going to keep up with you. And we're just going to somehow make this work. And the take that's in the movie is the 3rd take. And that's right when the sun came up. So those are the hardest days.
Hardest days for you, John David?
Oh, for me, I don't deal in confrontation that way, especially with somebody I love. So there's some things, there are some words that he uses. He's kicking in the door and he's telling her certain things, even though he is revealing that she did cheat on him. But those were very hard moments for me to that intensity to bring that to somebody, especially somebody that actually care for as a human being, like this actor, this beautiful actor. So I'm just like, this was very difficult to me. I had to reach inside myself in different parts of myself that I didn't know were available to get some of this out. And I realized during that time that there were some things I was working out personally, and there was some of the frustrations I've had as an artist, as an athlete first, and as an artist. Some of the frustrations that have been shared with me through people that I know and love and trust. I realized that was sort of coming out spiritually, organically, holistically in some of these words in these instances. And it was scary because I lost my identity. And ironically, that's a lot of what he's ranting about, is identity. And I lost it, which is a good thing. I lost it in a good way. I really became Malcolm in a lot of those, and especially in that sequence. And I made some great discoveries that I'm gonna hold on to and use in the future as I work. But that was a hard day because that kind of transition, that discovery was turbulent. It didn't feel good. Usually there's these empirical moments that you like to have. They feel good. It's like when the preacher's done and you take communion, you like, and the power, you like used to, like, you getting out of there like I'm charged. But this was more like a breakdown, like a deconstruction, and that was painful to do. But I was able to use it cathartically through the character, through the words, and through my scene partner, through the environment set. I mean, I was desperate to be working during this pandemic, and not only do I get to work, I get to work on something that I truly believed in. And there's something to be said about sitting with yourself. And it was funny, Sam, saying we hadn't been standing for a while. So being active on a set that didn't really feel, the whole experience didn't feel real. Like I'm going to wake up, because I was so used to living a certain way. I wasn't used to having this freedom. I wasn't used to creating like we were able to do. I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to act again. I didn't know what the industry was going to look like. I had this idea of me selling a film internationally, at the summer. I didn't know it was going to be this. So all those things, all those emotions sort of caught up to me and expressed themselves in that moment and a couple other moments during the film. And so it was hard. It was the hardest day because that transition, that I think that evolution was happening. It was like giving birth or something. I'm not saying I'm like giving birth, but I'm just saying, metaphorically speaking, is what I'm saying.
Briefly said. Toughest days. It's one of those things where it's really difficult to even say that you had a tough day, especially when we were doing this in the time that we're doing it, and being so aware of what I think most of the world was dealing with. And we were living in a bubble and we were safe. And we were able to be working, and there was, and really, the expectation of this film, I think people kind of forget, like, to a degree, this was just like, this is as indie as a film gets, it's just us putting our money into something. It wasn't sold to Netflix yet, it's just us getting together as people who care about each other and like, yo, you want to go make something, in the middle of nowhere together. We're like, all right. And we all got together and we did it, and if there was a hope that we could make sure that people were financially taken care of, and had equity and ownership in our film, the same way we all three shared the ownership of this film, then that would have been the goal, right? Was to make sure that our crew were taken care of, and they were, thankfully. So really the thing was just like, I was just so grateful to be in a position where I was safe. My loved ones were safe. I was being able to do something, be creative, try whatever the hell I wanted to try. There was no studio giving me notes. There was no, whatever. I could look at my own dailies. I could change whatever I wanted. I could do my own hair, makeup, however I wanted. I could pick out my outfit, however I wanted with my stylist. There was such a freedom there. And the only people I had to answer to were the people that are on this call, my fellow producers, and that was it, so it's like, it's difficult to even like say that any of it was like was tough, because it's like, damn, I feel like I don't even have the right to say that, because it was such a beautiful experience and I was okay. But of course it is challenging to like go to these dark places and to push yourself to say things and do things that you're like, oh my gosh, why would you say that, Marie? Or whatever, or to even watch somebody in front of you have to go through it and deal with it. Of course it can be exhausting, but it also is fulfilling. And it's, to what John David said, it's cathartic, and it can be healing. Cause I was like using her too, to just let out all the shit I let out. I was like, maybe I don't cry enough. I need to cry. And I just let it out, or maybe, I emotionally block myself a lot, so allowing myself to feel things is really, really important, and the safe space that I was given by, by my fellow actor and my director was the place I needed to do my best work. So, I mean, specific day, I mean, I think the knife scene took some out of me, because I was trying to double trick myself, right? I was trying to double, be in a movie, inside a movie, and knowing what the punchline of it was. It's hard to like trick yourself into being in that place, because I wanted to feel like, no, this is where Marie is right now. This is how she feels. So it was a tough day, and I was just blocking myself because I get far too in my head. And then when I do that, I'm like critiquing myself, and I'm like, I'm taking too long. Everybody's like, everybody probably thinks I'm being ridiculous. I'm just like in my head, and Sam will come sit with me and talk to me, and JD came over and sat with me and talked with me, and I just nothing was happening. I was like, just not finding it. We scratched the dialogue. He was like, you know what's there, forget it. I don't care about the words. Let's rewrite it. Right. And then we wrote something else that was kind of reminiscent to, I believe, like a Euphoria scene. Because there's like this world that maybe this film, Imani, might be like, it's like Euphoria, but a movie in another world, or something. And so I was like, what if it was like a scene from Euphoria? And that would be kind of funny because people would remember. And that didn't work out. I was like, this is way too meta and just weird. And then I was like, so that didn't work. And then it would just took a lot of trial and error. And there was one time where Sam was like, you know what? Forget it. Forget all of it. Just go out there. You're holding yourself back. Just yell at John David. Just whatever you need to say, just use him as a vessel to get it out. Poor John David. I'm so sorry. But I just was like, I was just venting, honestly. I did a whole take of me he's like, Sam's off to the side, like, just scream. I'm like, and I just go off on whatever I needed to go off on, and after that, guess what? We still didn't get it. It wasn't until the next day. He was like, you know what? It's fine. We'll come back. We'll get it tomorrow. Next day I approached it. I was like, you know what? Just don't be in your head. Try to think about it as little as possible and just go straight into it. And again, the freedom to just try whatever. And that's when the laughing and the clinking of the knife, I was just like, I'm just going to let my emotions take over, go as dark as I need to go, and have some fun with it a little bit. And we ended up getting it, but it was tough because I was really tough on myself that I didn't get it the first night.
Thank you.
Of course.
Medium popcorn, we are two niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins, that's me, and Justin Brown for your movie needs. Medium popcorn, woo! You haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it. Spoil it in your face. That's your warning. So if you